Welcome to the Dropship Podcast, where you'll learn how to build and grow a high-ticket dropshipping business and hear stories from successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. Let's kick this thing off. Hey, welcome to the Dropship Podcast. Today, we want to answer a question we got in our Facebook group. You can join that at Dropship Tribe on Facebook. And we were looking for some non-dropshipping related topics, and one came up from Stephen Ingle, who said, "How rich are you really?" And then somebody laughed at it, right? And he said, "Honestly, though, I'm half joking, but half really interested to know where the ceiling is." And I came back with like a thoughtful comment here, and I kind of want to talk about that comment and then frame like how do you and I think about money, John? Not how rich we are, which we can talk about if you want to, but I think it's more important how we think about money than it is like what we do with our own money. Anyway, my answer to his question of like, where is the ceiling was literally whatever our answer may be, that's not your ceiling. Don't impose a limit on yourself. Wayfair, who started dropshipping just like us and still does, did $12 billion in sales last year. 12 billion, billion with a B, man. That's an incredible amount of sales. And they're still dropshipping a lot of products. You can do anything, bro. It's literally what I wrote. And like, I mean that sincerely. And that like, if John and I say, here's where we got to with dropshipping, which is pretty far. Like, I'm pretty thrilled with where I got to with dropshipping. I know there's people who got further than me. And so like, if I tell you where I got, is that where you're going to put the ceiling in your head that someday you can get there? Because I want you shooting 10 times for, like, I want you shooting for 12 billion. Wayfair has set the table here. Not BK, I got to 8 figures, big fucking deal. I want to get to billions at some point doing this. And that's where you should put the ceiling. And so I don't know. I hope that answers the question, John.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously Stephen was interested to know kind of what's possible rather than specifically what actual numbers that are associated with us, I think. And that's the point. Like, I mean, anything's possible, all of the companies that have been built before you and all of that sort of thing, like any of that's possible. And probably beyond there, there's going to be new companies that come out in e-commerce in the future. I mean, Amazon isn't the end of the story. They will at one day be replaced by something completely different that is probably going to be bigger and make more money, amazingly. It's not going to be exactly the same thing, but it's going to be something different. One day Google will be replaced by something and all of that sort of thing. It'll be something different that we haven't seen before, but, like everything is replicatable. In terms of results, in one way or another. So, there is no ceiling. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't think that there is a ceiling. I mean, answering the question directly, my answer to the question actually directly is I actually don't know. I mean, if you said to me, what are you worth right now as I'm sitting here, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't even know close to what it is. I can tell you how much money is in my bank account. I know that because I can look at it on my phone, but like I have money invested in various things and I don't know what they're worth on a day-to-day basis. And to me, it's not really important, to be honest. I don't think about it like that. I don't have, and I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, oh my God, that's terrible financial management or blah, 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 which is a load of bullshit. It's not. It's just, numbers and all of that sort of thing aren't really what's important to me. That's not how I think about money. To me, the way I think about it is, or the way I measure sort of how I'm doing from a wealth or financial perspective is not, is my net worth at X amount of dollars? Like there's a number target or anything like that. The way I think about it is generally just taking a measurement of if I want to do the things I want to do in life, whether that's for myself, whether that's for my businesses, whether that's for my children. Like if one of my kids comes up to me and says, hey, Dad, I want to go and do this thing. I want to start doing this thing, or I want to go into this place, or I want to, like my youngest came up and said, hey, Dad, I want to see the snow. Right now, it only snows in Australia for a part of the year, but I said, sure, next winter, we're going to take a trip to the snow. We're going to go down there. I don't live anywhere near that part of this country. Or we'll go to New Zealand where they have a really, really great snow season over there as well. It's pretty close to Australia. I said, sure, we'll go and do that. We'll go and do that for a few weeks. I don't have to think about that, right? At the moment, I can just go and do that. Children come up and ask me something else. So to me, if I'm able to do the things that I want to do without having to worry about money, then I've met my mark. That's all, literally, that's all I ever really want to be able to do. And so that's why I don't really think about the numbers. I mean, my wife thinks about the numbers a lot more, so she could probably actually answer this question for you. She keeps a closer eye on these sort of things. I know if I'm going up or down and sort of those broad brush strokes at any point in time, but that's always the measure for me. Numbers don't bring you happiness, but options do. A lot of people have said that's the aim of money for me, really, is to give me options in life, to be able to do things without having to worry about it, without having to stress about it. And certainly that's not the way it's been for me forever. That's for sure. That's not where my story started. I mean, I went through a long period of life of kind of paycheck to paycheck and, all of that sort of thing. But I think at this point, most things that I would want to do, I could go and do at this point in life.
I try to think about it the same way, right? When I grew up, lower middle class is my guess. I mean, I don't know how to frame it, but I was just talking to my buddy here working for me today of I remember back at a time when my brother got Doc Martens. It was like a great day when my brother got Doc Martens. And he got a fitted hat. And I was so jealous that he got a hat. And I was like, we just didn't get anything other than when it was like a birthday or Christmas. And even then, we didn't get much. And as kids do, I asked for everything under the sun all the time, right? And we just didn't have it. My dad had to say no. He had a budget. He didn't have a choice, right? And as I grew up, I was working a very similar job to my dad, and my wife was working a very similar job to my mom. And we were doing the same thing. We were $40,000 in consumer debt because we didn't have money to buy stuff. So we just threw it on a credit card, right? And I lived my life that way for a very long time. And I bet there's people listening to this who are living their life that way right now, that it's getting hard. Inflation's a fucking bananas, dude. Your dollar's worth 83 cents what it was 3 years ago. And so it's getting expensive to buy groceries. It's getting expensive to have a family. It's getting expensive to own a home. Interest rates are through the roof. And I bet there's a lot of people here who money is the first thing they think about often, right? It's the number one cause for divorce. And I feel for it. I don't want to come off as an elitist. I've gotten to a point where I don't really think about it anymore. And that was my goal. I think there's a bar you clear in America, and it's kind of a low bar. It's not that much money in relativity, right? I think the 1% makes $400K a year. We're below that when you get to a point where you're just not thinking about things anymore. Like John said, if my kid wants to do something, if my wife wants to do something, let alone my business spits off rewards, and so we can travel as much as we want to. That's honestly a pretty low bar. 250K a year is probably that bar. And again, doing the math we've done on this, that's a $2 million a year dropshipping business. That's very, very achievable for you to have to spit off 200K, 250K, 300K, and, have a small team who's fulfilling orders. And honestly, you could probably run a 2 million business by yourself. It's going to be pretty stressful, but at that point, hopefully you have some team. And so that's the bar I wanted to clear. And that's what I pushed for as hard as I could when I started this journey, is get there, get out of debt, get to a point where I can live my life the way I want to live it. And I've been fortunate enough to get there. And then that gap from where you're there to private jet money is huge. And it's all diminishing returns. There's nothing I can't do now that I couldn't do if I made 10 times what I made. Realistically, if I made 100x, now we're talking a very different story. And so I want people to realize, number one, I empathize with you if you're in that struggle of paycheck to paycheck and wondering, how am I going to do this and how am I going to handle Christmas presents and all that stuff. If you're worried about that, I know exactly what you're talking about. But there is a way out, and it's not that many steps up the ladder for you to be oh, that's kind of nice. My head's above water. I'm not really worried about this day to day to day. There's a whole lot of other problems in life that you can spend your time worrying about, let alone spend that time working on yourself so that you're not worrying about all those things in the first place. But I just don't want to throw numbers out. It doesn't make any sense. It's all relative. I live in Wisconsin, right? And so my numbers compared to somebody living in San Diego are already going to sound skewed. You're going to be like, what? You live on that in Wisconsin? I couldn't live in San Diego. Well, I don't live in San Diego, right? I'm very happy where I am. And I bought a 4-bedroom house for like $200K. Good luck. Like, you're not finding that anywhere anymore. Like, I like to live where I live, and so for most of the year, and so I can live on less money than you would need to be in different locations. So it's all relative. Whatever your goals are, your numbers are going to be very different. And last thing I want to do is put a cap on it. That's for sure. Hey, remember Holly? Yeah, episode 212. From $0 to $500,000 in 5 months. Holly is one of our best students, and you can hop on a call with her right now at dropshipbreakthru.com/call. If you're listening to this, I know you're thinking about starting your own high-ticket dropshipping business, and what better person to speak to than Holly, who is a shining example of what can be done starting your own business. So hop on a call with Holly, see if joining Dropship Breakthru is right for you. dropshipbreakthru.com/call.
Yeah, I think a few episodes back, I chucked out a number off the spur of the moment. You know, you can go back and listen to that and extrapolate from there. But I think it's an important point that you mentioned about, like, the difference. Like, if you're at the point where you're at right now, where you're living paycheck to paycheck or some version of that, to sort of where you don't have to worry about that anymore, it seems like a massive mountain. And once again, I mean, Ben and I have both been there. Like, we literally understand where you are right now, but we've also seen the journey from there to say where we are now, where we're not the richest guys on the planet. We're not even close to that. We're not like anywhere near that, but we're both at the point where we don't have to, like, don't think about money day to day. Literally don't. Don't worry about money. Spend money on things. Don't worry about it. Like, and the when you look back from on what happened between there and there, and sure, for us there was probably a lot of mistakes along the way because we didn't in the beginning have, you know, as much access to information or mentors or anything like that as people who are starting today might have, to be honest. But like, when you look back on it and you think about what it took to get to that point, like, it's all very achievable, I think. But the message I would have to say is there's work involved. Like, and I mean, we've said this so many times on this show, like it must be getting a bit repetitive for people. If you can commit to doing the work, you will get to exactly where me and Ben are. We haven't done anything special. We haven't done anything secret. We're not in any way like exceptional people in terms of qualities or intellect or whatever. Like, literally, we've just stuck it out and done the shit that needed to be done. So if you can do but that's the thing. That's the thing that people struggle with. You, like, make that commitment that you're going to do that for the next 5 years. And I guarantee you will get to a place where you don't have to worry about money. Sounds simple. But, like, for some reason these days, people committing to doing the same thing for 5 years seems to be like a challenge. Like, 5 years is, like, people think 5 years is some ridiculously long amount of time. You should be alive for, like, barring accidents or, you know, things like that, 80 years, 90 years, 95 years. What's 5 years? It's nothing.
Realistically, there's opportunity everywhere, right? Like, I think this comes out when we started running our Black Friday sale. So head to dropshipbreakthru.com/Black Friday if you want to do what we're doing. But, you know, there's a lot of smart people on the internet. Cody Sanchez is out there currently telling you about how many boomers need to retire, and there's just not enough people to buy their business. And so you can literally go buy your income with no money down. Go buy a laundromat. Just go out, talk to the old owner, get to know them, take them out to lunch, ask them how it works, and let them know, hey, would you ever sell this? I might be interested. And you could probably get seller financing, put no money down, or realistically very little money down, and have a business that cash flows more than you make at your job right now. Is it going to be harder work? Yep. Are you going to have to do things you didn't do before? Yep. Are you going to have to, like, commit to working a little bit harder for a while longer? Of course you are. But, like, there's opportunity everywhere. And I don't even know where to start with that, John. There's just, I don't know how to, like, grab somebody and just shake them, because I wanted to do it with so many of my friends and family since I've been on this journey of, like, there is a different way. Like, there is definitely a way that you can get out of the pain you're in. And I think those questions come from places like that. It's not somebody wondering how rich we are. It's like, They want to see a possibility. They want to see a different way of life and know that that's possible. And like, we are very small examples in the giant ocean of people who have made this reality. I said on one of our last shows, there's 33 million small businesses in America. All of them do okay, like at least okay, or they wouldn't still be around, right? And so, like, I think high ticket dropshipping is your easiest path into e-commerce, but there's a million other ways in e-commerce you could make money. And so, like, I don't know. My only goal when you said let's do this together was like, just how do we get people to start? How do we get them to take that first step and take action? Because that's really all it takes, is like, just get the momentum moving. The longer you're sitting on your couch contemplating whether you can do this or can't do this, or whether you can afford this, or whether Billy's going to need braces next year, whatever that is, like, just start taking it, move towards something and get the momentum moving. And yeah, you can get to this point where John and I are. And I'm honest with, like, I'm happy where I am, John, but like, there's a long way to go. I've got a lot left to learn, a lot I want to do in this life and in this world. So, man, I just want to grab some people. If you're listening to this and I have the opportunity to see you, I want to shake you. Tell me how hard I can shake you, because I just want you to start. Like, there's so much opportunity there. It's silly.
Yeah, and you can start. Like, if yeah, I agree. Like, if you really want it, you don't need to spend any money to start either. Like, yeah, I mean, you could buy our course and stuff like that, and sure, that's going to speed you up. But do you need to do that to start? Like, what you really need to do is make a commitment to yourself to doing it, and realize that you need to, we talked about this on another recent episode. Like, you need to make changes in yourself and in your life. That's what's going to do it, right? Because all you have to do is practice, start an online business, whether it's high ticket dropshipping or there's other ones out there, which once again are way past episodes. We've talked about some of them, right? Start a business. You can start an online business for next to nothing. Like, you don't have to go out and buy a super expensive course to do it. You can start for something next to nothing, right? Which anybody can do. And then all you've got to do is practice running that business. You may be crap in the beginning. You may be terrible at it in the beginning. It may take you a while to get any results. But all you have to do is a couple of hours a day consistently. And if it takes you a year, that's fine. Because the reality is, if you just sit there and keep doing what you're doing right now, vegetating every night, watching TV, or drinking with your buddies, or whatever it is that you're spending fucking 3 hours. I know this guy who goes out and rides a bike for 3 hours a day. Like, what the fuck? What's that getting you in life? He's not even a professional athlete. Like, that's pointless activity. If you're that person, if you're a mammal, as we call them here, a fat middle-aged guy who rides around on a bike for hours a day, ignoring your family and your friends, like,
you call them mammals?
Yeah, middle-aged man in lycra or something like that. There's like packs of these dopes riding around constantly here. It's not improving your fitness, for one. Scientifically proven 3 hours of cardio a day doesn't actually do anything for you. It's unnecessary. Like, what I'm saying is, really the thing that people are struggling with here is admitting that there's something they need to change in their life to make this happen. That's one of the big barriers. So if you're sitting there, you're listening, and you're like, oh, I'd love to be at a place where I don't have to worry about money. You can get there, but you have to change something. So work it out. Work out how you're going to sit down for 2 hours a day and practice running a business. Because if you practice doing anything for long enough, you're going to attain mastery of that thing. And you're going to get the results that you want. And it's not like you have to do it for the next 20 years. It's not like you have to do it for the next 10 years. Maybe you got to do it for a few years. Like, make it your pastime to run a business. That's your hobby now. It's not doing any of those other things that don't actually do anything for you. Like, if you're truly saying my biggest problem in life is I'm living paycheck to paycheck or whatever it is, and then you're going out and doing something like a hobby for hours a day or every other day or whatever, that thing needs to go, because that thing is never going to fix your money problems. So why are you doing it while you're sitting there bitching about not having enough money? Like, literally, to me, and I say this from personal experience, that was me for like a decade, at least, when I was younger. Like, I'd be worrying about money and then going out and doing things that weren't doing anything whatsoever, like spending the free time I had outside of my job doing things that were going to do nothing to improve my situation in life other than make me forget it. make me forget my problem that I was always bitching about and worried about and concerned about. So that's the change that like people have to make. And honestly, we can't do that for you. You've got to, be an adult and do that yourself.
I think I didn't know what to do, right? I'm really thinking back to like just feeling stuck and not really knowing what to do. And I had heard some things of like MLMs, God forbid. Thank God I never bought into those things. Like it works. That's what it was called. It works. It was like this wrap you would put around you, and it was going to melt your fat off. Definitely bought one. Didn't start the program, but like flipping stuff on eBay. I knew a few people who were making a couple $100 extra bucks, but I really didn't know anything. And that's when I stumbled in dropshipping. So if you're listening to this and you're in that pain, you've already stumbled on a solution. You've probably stumbled on multiple solutions. Now, like John said, you just have to take action, make a decision. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put in the work necessary to change my circumstances. And it's going to take a different version of you to get where you want to go. Like I said, we're recording this early, but I believe this comes out during our Black Friday sale. If you're ready to hop in with us, you're never going to find a better deal with John and I. So head to dropshipbreakthru.com/Black Friday. Take one of the offers on the page, hop in, and start taking action. Thanks for listening to the Dropship Podcast. You can find all the show notes for this episode at dropshippodcast.com. And if you're ready to take the next step in your dropshipping journey, we invite you to join us inside Dropship Breakthru, where John and I will walk you through step by step in starting your own high-ticket dropshipping e-commerce business. But that's not all. Dropship Breakthru will also teach you everything you'll need to know to grow your business and take it to the next level. So head over to dropshipbreakthru.com and sign up for our free training that will help you take the first steps towards building and growing your own profitable high-ticket dropshipping business.